Alright, let's talk about something here. Let's talk about these physics materials. Alright, this is like your terrain, the ground model. Like, you see, you paint with your terrain. But say you want to paint something and you want a different kind of terrain, like this. You know, that'll have different depth to it. Well, the way you would do that is, first of all, go into your level. Like this is my level here. Go into the art folder. Go to terrains, and inside of terrains you'll see all your textures, but you'll also see main.materials.json file. Open that up here, and this is basically all your terrain paints, and this is how you add new ones for the time being, or take them out until they finally get that thing patched or whatever. So keep that in mind. Now, inside of the level root folder, your level's root folder, make a folder called ground models, and inside of there you can name this whatever you want, but just make sure it's got .json at the end. Open it up in Notepad++, and you'll see these two settings, which I'm going to pack this level again and put it on OneDrive, so you'll have this. You won't have to create this. But let me show you how these things tie together. So we got a new ground model called goo. Alright, and it's got a default depth of 0.6, which 0 is flat ground. Less than 0 starts to go into the ground. Like 0.1 goes in the ground a little, 0.6 goes in the ground a lot more. I don't know what the maximum is, so you'd have to just experiment with that. You don't want skid marks on mud, so you'd put faults. But here's what ties your textures for your terrain paints to these ground models. The aliases. So what you're going to look for over in the terrain paints is the internal name, like grass 2, grass 6. But in this case, it is using, where is it? There it is. Wet mud dark red. That's the internal name. You put whatever, and there's extra aliases here if you want to put more stuff in there. I'll put a few extras here. But what you'll do is between two quotation marks, you will paste the internal name of the terrain paint that you want to apply this goo ground model to. And then in the terrain paint over on the left, the ground model name, goo, that is what gets plugged into there. So if you want to, say, make your own ground model, then you would pick a, like, say, this dirt, I don't know, dirt loose, for example. Then in its ground model, instead of dirt loose or whatever is in it, you would put your ground model, whatever you call it, right here. And then the collision, the aliases, you would put the internal name, dirt loose. You'd put that right there. And whether or not you want skid marks. And that's why I said that's what this comes in handy. It explains what all those are. Now what I did is I went ahead and in the level I redid the terrain block because the small island had these, I call them soft spots, but they're pretty much baked in ground models that you drive along and you'd sink in the ground a little, and then maybe you wouldn't sink in the ground, or there'd be like a dirt surface where you have asphalt. But what I did, I made the terrain block smaller. I made a new one. I made it smaller if anybody wants to make like a small map. And I included many of my terrain paints that I made for my other levels. Which some of these work, some of these don't. You just have to go to the terrain material library and just click on the ones. The ones that don't have textures obviously don't work. The ones that are red, or like that one, one of these is black. Like that ain't gonna work. But all the others that do will, so you'll know which ones work, which ones don't. Which some of these are duplicates for whatever reason. I didn't weed through them and take them out, but you just add a new material into here, and like now you can't save anything. Like you can't save changes in here for the time being until they get this 1.5 implemented. So, but you can add them to your terrain painter. So you basically got a larger library of terrain paints, um, which these rock cliffs, these rock cliffs here are not meant to go flat on the ground. They're for like walls. Um, but I made a few different ones. I'm not crazy about this one particularly, but I do like this one. And there's one other one I like. I think it's Rock Cliff 6. Yeah, I like that one. Um, there's different dirts. That's dirt dark. I'm not gonna name them all. I made my own asphalt, which that would look good with like decals on it. It's just a base texture. There's some gravel, different gravels. There's a few different grasses. I didn't have time to put the different actual blades of grass, like this. I didn't do that yet, so it's just a base texture. But you can do it. I mean, it's pretty easy to put your own in there. I'll probably make a video one day on doing that. But there's a few different ones. You got some variety. Um, Different gravels. Probably about 5 different gravel types. A light mud, a dark mud. So there's quite a few in there, and the developers are in here too. The ones that they do got their stuff programmed into it, so you got a little more variety now if you wanted. So I'm gonna pack this up, and that ground model works, and so does the other one. The other one that we were just fooling with, the one that I said is your ground model. So the actual developers, this is their entire list for all their ground models, which this is in the game, in their zip game engine, which if you go to where the game's installed and the Steam library and Steam apps common BeamNG, you'll see game engine zip. Unzip that onto like your desktop, and then just do a search for groundmodels.json, and then you'll see in Notepad++, if you have it open, it'll pull it up. You'll see what the settings are for all the game's different things. It gives you some ideas if you want to try some different, settings here. So that's about it for this one. I'll pack this level up. I'm going to replace the other link to Outrun with this one.